Hello everyone. In today's video we're going to dive into 9 powerful Buddhist lessons, perfect for helping us focus on our own journey and let go of worries about what others think. If you're looking for more inner peace and self-confidence, this video is for you. Lesson 1. True peace is a seed that grows from within. We often spend our lives chasing peace and happiness in external places and things, a new job, someone's approval, a perfect relationship. But life, with its unpredictable nature, shows us that all of this is fleeting. The Buddha taught us that genuine tranquility isn't found in the world outside, but in the stillness we cultivate within ourselves. Imagine your mind as a lake. When it's agitated, filled with waves of thoughts and worries, the water becomes cloudy and we can't see the bottom. However, when the mind calms down, the water clears, and we can see the beauty and depth that have always been there. Outer peace is simply a reflection of inner peace. This constant search for external validation and fulfillment is a never-ending cycle. Whenever we achieve something, we're already thinking about the next step, the next conquest. It's like trying to quench your thirst by drinking salt water. The satisfaction that comes from outside is momentary, but the joy that springs from within, that is unshakable. It doesn't depend on circumstances, but on your ability to connect with your own essence. There's a story of an ancient master who, after a long journey of searching, met the Buddha. He asked, "Master, where can I find perfect happiness?" The Buddha, with a smile, pointed to the disciple's own heart and replied, "Look here." This small story reminds us that our greatest refuge, the greatest source of joy, is within us. Our worth is not defined by the prizes we win, the compliments we receive, or the grades we get. It lies in our capacity to simply be. When we stop depending on what others think and turn our focus inward, we discover a real sense of freedom. It's the feeling of being whole, exactly as we are. Lesson 2. Embrace solitude as a gift. In a society where constant connection and distraction seem to be the norm, solitude is often seen as something to be avoided. However, in Buddhism, being alone isn't a form of isolation, but a sacred moment of reconnection. It's like entering a room where all the noise from the outside world falls silent, and you can finally hear your own voice. In this quiet space, the answers you've been looking for can emerge with clarity. The Buddha often retreated to meditate alone, not because he rejected people, but because he understood that silence was the place where wisdom blossomed. He taught that being comfortable in your own company is one of the greatest signs of strength. The fear of being alone often hides the fear of confronting our own thoughts, insecurities, and truths. But it's precisely in this confrontation that growth happens. Spending time by yourself isn't a weakness, but an act of courage and maturity. It's an invitation to self-knowledge, a journey that leads us to understand who we truly are. Solitude, when used well, prepares us to connect more meaningfully with others. When we're not constantly surrounded by people, we learn to value interactions and to relate in a more profound and authentic way. Interestingly, solitude also frees us from the need for external approval. When you feel complete in your own presence, the opinions of others lose their power to affect you. Lesson 3. Stop seeking approval. Cultivate self-love. Seeking approval from others is like trying to hold water in your hands. No matter how hard you try, it always slips away. From childhood, we're taught to value what others think of us, but this pursuit can become a prison. Buddhism teaches us that true freedom arises when we stop depending on external validation and instead cultivate self-love. Happiness cannot be found outside ourselves, because when we place our joy in the opinions of others, we become vulnerable. Opinions change, compliments are fleeting, and criticism can shake us. Living dependent on this is like being on an emotional roller coaster. The Buddha's metaphor about criticism is a powerful reminder. If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, to whom does the gift belong? To the person who offered it. In the same way, criticism and judgments only affect us if we choose to accept them. The path to self-validation begins by recognizing your own worth. When you truly love yourself, you realize you don't need applause to validate your existence. Your presence in the world is already enough. This isn't selfishness. It's the solid foundation for inner peace and self-confidence. By stopping the habit of molding yourself to please others, you reconnect with your authenticity. And it's that authenticity that attracts and inspires. Lesson 4. See rejection as a redirection. Rejection can hurt, but what if, instead of seeing it as a setback, we saw it as a redirection? In Buddhism, we learn that nothing happens by chance, and that every obstacle carries with it the seed of a lesson or opportunity. Rejection is like the universe telling us, not here or not now. It might be protecting us from a path that wasn't ours, pushing us toward a destination that will bring us more satisfaction. If one door closes, it's an invitation to look for others, and perhaps in that search you'll find a door that leads to a journey much more aligned with your true purpose. Many successful people faced countless rejections. Their stories show us that these no's weren't the end, but a process of refinement that prepared them for success. Rejection is an opportunity to look inward, to ask ourselves what we can learn and how we can grow. It teaches us resilience, reminds us that our worth isn't defined by the approval of others, and it strengthens us. Rejection doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means that that situation, person, or path wasn't the right fit for you at that moment. Embrace this experience as a tool for growth, not as a defeat. Lesson 5. Detach from the fear of judgment. The fear of other people's judgment is like carrying a heavy backpack full of stones that aren't yours. With every step, it weighs you down and prevents you from moving forward. Buddhism teaches us that the opinions of others say much more about the people expressing them than about the person receiving them. Each person sees the world through their own experiences, beliefs, and insecurities. What someone says about you often reflects that person's own limitations, not your true worth. Understanding this is the first step to freeing yourself from this burden. The fear of judgment makes us project our own insecurities onto others. We believe we're being constantly watched and criticized, but in reality, people are so busy with their own lives that they barely notice what we're doing. Detaching from external opinions is an essential practice for inner peace. When we stop seeking approval and focus on living according to our own values, we find an inner strength that cannot be shaken. This doesn't mean completely ignoring feedback, but rather choosing which opinions are worth our attention and which can be released. The freedom of living without the weight of judgment is the freedom to be yourself, without apology. Lesson 6. Focus on what you can control. Life often throws challenges our way that feel completely out of our control, and it's easy to get lost in the chaos. However, Buddhism teaches us a fundamental truth. While we can't control what happens around us, we can absolutely control how we react. Think of your mind as a garden. You can't stop weeds from appearing, but you can choose what you cultivate. You can tend to the beautiful flowers of peace, gratitude, and patience, or you can let the weeds of worry, anger, and anxiety take over. The Buddha said, "With our thoughts, we make the world." This means our reality is shaped more by our inner landscape than by the external events themselves. A small problem can feel enormous if we feed it with negative thoughts, but that same problem can be navigated with calm and focus. It all begins inside us. Mastering our thoughts and emotions is like taming a wild horse. At first it seems impossible, but with patience and practice, you learn to guide it. Meditation is a powerful tool in this process. By simply being present in the moment, you learn to observe your thoughts without getting carried away by them. You become like the calm eye of a hurricane, with the world swirling around you while you remain centered. We often worry about things we can't change, which is as pointless as trying to hold water in our hands. It's futile and only causes frustration. Instead, ask yourself a simple question. Can I do something about this? If the answer is yes, take action. If the answer is no, accept it and move on. This simple habit reduces stress and helps us focus our energy on what truly matters. It's a remarkable paradox. When we stop trying to control the uncontrollable, we find more freedom. Imagine holding onto a rope with all your might. The harder you pull, the more it hurts your hands. Letting go isn't giving up. It's releasing a weight you are carrying unnecessarily. This practice of letting go is essential for living with lightness and ease. A classic Buddhist story tells of two monks who were crossing a river. One of them, a young man, carried a woman across to the other side and set her down. Hours later, the other monk complained, "Why did you carry her? We are not supposed to touch women." The first monk smiled and replied, "I put her down hours ago, why are you still carrying her?" This story perfectly illustrates how we often hold on to unnecessary thoughts and worries that only weigh us down. Focusing on what we can control also means prioritizing. Not all problems demand our immediate attention, and not all battles are worth fighting. When you choose where to invest your energy, you find more peace. Remember, mastering your thoughts and emotions is a continuous process. There will be days when it's harder, and that's okay. Progress comes with practice, and every small step counts. Just as a river shapes a rock over time, consistent effort transforms our minds and hearts. Lesson 7. See that others are focused on themselves. We often believe we are the center of attention, as if every step we take is being watched and judged. But the truth is, most people are deeply focused on themselves. Everyone is facing their own challenges, insecurities and worries, and they rarely have the time or energy to scrutinize the lives of others. When we truly understand this, we free ourselves from the heavy burden of worrying excessively about what others think. Imagine being on a stage, but instead of an attentive audience, everyone is distracted, lost in their own thoughts. That's the reality of life. The fear of judgment is often fueled by our imagination, not by facts. The idea that we are constantly being judged is one of the mind's great illusions. Each person is an island unto themselves, navigating the seas of their own experiences. Knowing this not only eases the fear of judgment, but also invites us to be more compassionate, understanding that everyone has their own invisible battles. Have you ever worried about a small mistake you made, only to realize that no one else even noticed? This happens because people are far more preoccupied with their own issues than with ours. Excessive worry about what others think is like carrying a mirror everywhere, constantly trying to adjust your image. It's exhausting and disconnects us from who we really are. When we realize that others aren't as focused on us as we imagine, we gain the space to live more authentically and spontaneously. It's a powerful feeling of freedom. A Zen story illustrates this perfectly. A student was terrified of speaking in front of a group. Her teacher said, "Do not worry about what they think. They are all thinking about themselves, just like you are." This simple truth helped her to relax and speak from her heart. The most authentic and confident people are usually the ones who care the least about what others think. They know it's impossible to please everyone, and they instead focus on living in a way that is true to their own values. This not only liberates them, but also inspires others to do the same. Lesson 8. Avoid social comparisons. Comparing yourself to others is like trying to measure the beauty of a flower by the height of a tree. Each has its own essence, its own way of growing and contributing to the world. In Buddhism, we learn that every journey is unique, and it is this very singularity that gives life its value. When we abandon comparison, we create space to recognize and appreciate our own path, free from the shadow of dissatisfaction. We often look at others' achievements and feel like we're falling behind, but have you noticed how social media only shows people's highlight reels? It's like watching a brilliant movie trailer without seeing the struggle, the failures, and the countless hours of effort behind the scenes. Comparing ourselves to this idealized version is unfair and unrealistic. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from desire and dissatisfaction. When we compare ourselves, we create a desire to be where another person is, or to have what they have, which inevitably leads to frustration. Instead, he invited us to look inward and value what we already possess. This doesn't mean stagnation, but a foundation of gratitude that helps us grow without feeling small. Often we compare ourselves to people who have advantages we don't know about. A person who seems to have it all might be struggling with insecurities or challenges we can't see. Just as a mountain looks smooth from a distance, but is full of jagged edges up close, the lives of others are never as perfect as they seem. This realization helps us take our eyes off others and focus on our own journey. When you focus on your own path, you not only improve your performance, but also appreciate every step, every achievement, and every lesson learned. The progress of life is like the growth of a tree. Some blossom quickly, while others take years to form deep roots. Neither is wrong. Both have their role in the ecosystem. You also have your own unique time and purpose, and valuing that is the key to living with peace and authenticity. Final reflections. Your journey is your masterpiece. As we've explored these lessons, we've seen a common thread. The path to a meaningful life is not found by looking at others, but by looking within. True peace comes from cultivating stillness in your mind. Strength comes from embracing solitude and getting to know yourself. Freedom comes from detaching from the need for approval. Resilience comes from seeing rejection as a guide, and confidence comes from realizing that others are far too busy with their own lives to spend their time judging yours. And finally, happiness is found not in comparing your journey to someone else's, but in celebrating the unique masterpiece that is your own life. If any of these lessons touched you, if a particular point resonated with your heart, I have a special request. Instead of just asking for a like, would you be willing to share in the comments which of these 9 lessons you're going to try to practice this week? It could be something small like spending 5 minutes alone, or something big like letting go of a hurtful comment. Your willingness to share your own journey might just be the spark that inspires someone else to start theirs. We're all on this path together, and your voice matters. And if you'd like to continue receiving content like this, messages that help you find peace, purpose, and strength within yourself, please consider subscribing. I would be genuinely honored to have you as part of our community. Thank you for your time, your trust, and for being here today.